My name is Paul Wagman. I've lived and worked in Cochrane for the last 20 plus years. I found it to be a really good community to live and raise a family. I'm a retired police officer, worked in the city of Calgary, and come from a long kind of line of police officers. And it's something I knew I wanted to do at a young age, but it really was a surprise when, I think about 10 years into my policing career, I experienced a mass trauma, a mass homicide that kind of rocked my world a little bit and changed the way that I lived and the way that I saw mental health. My narrative was one that I didn't recognize my trauma immediately. It started to kind of sneak up on me and affect my daily life, affect my sleep. And it wasn't until I actually needed to reach out for help that I was diagnosed with PTSD. And another peer of mine who was diagnosed previously reached out and we had a conversation. And that's when it really hit me, even though I was diagnosed. My peer said to me, "Do you experience this? Do you experience that? How about this? How about that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He says, "That's exactly how I live, and that's exactly what this means." Before I had no idea, but since then I've had to navigate living well and really dissecting the route that I've traveled to map out mental health. And since this has affected me so significantly, my purpose has been changed a little bit to share my story, especially with those that I used to work with, so responders, military and their families, because I've walked in their shoes, and it's very rare to be struck by lightning by going to one of those very rare calls where you have to pull the trigger, you have to make a life-altering decision, or you witness something which general public were not meant to see. When that happens, bag fills up and it can begin to overflow. And if you don't know how to manage that and maintain a healthy balance with the things that come in and the things that you digest, they will keep you awake at night, literally, and they will slowly impact the way that you live and creep into your every existence. And, navigating the system was the one way that I thought I could give back through lived experience. What really helped me navigate my experiences with PTSD was trial and error. System is becoming better, but when I was early involved in the system of mental health and trying to find the appropriate supports, doctors, they were hard to find and hard to find on a consistent basis. I was fortunate as I had a workplace occupational stress injury that I had the support of an insurance system that would get me to the doctors that I would need. I would have a consistent amount of appointments with a trusted healthcare professional, of which building trust is a key factor. It took me a long time to build trust, to be 100% honest with talking about the dark places that you can go in mental health. And it takes a good relationship with a trusted doctor that will help you navigate that. So I was lucky to find the right medical help and the right psychological supports to be able to navigate that. I think that is key. Once you can actually acknowledge the injury and take care of the acute work that needs to be done, then you can move on to the living in wellness balance, which is where I'm at now. For me, I'm quite fortunate because I have grown up with horses my entire life. Horses are much harder to keep than dogs. There's a lot of people that find benefits in being around pets and being around living animals, and that's very true. But the one benefit for me is doing equine wellness or being around horses. And I share that with others, and I find that's just something that gives me passion, and you need to fill yourself with something of passion and purpose. Another thing I found that has strengthened my spirit is Indigenous practices, smudging and doing sweats. I'm very fortunate. Some friends of mine, such as Dan Crane and Lee Crowchild, Chief Crowchild from the Tsuut'ina, have been able to share their Indigenous practices with me and their healing practices. So I make it kind of a daily practice to smudge and to just to be in the moment. And I find that primarily grounding, and there's many ways to accomplish that through meditation and breathing. I've found the key to mental wellness can be through the breath. It offers a variety of different benefits, whether it comes down to meditation, yoga, mindfulness, or just lengthening the fuse when you're overcome by anger and frustration or overwhelmed with other elements of mental health. Going back to the breath can be one of the key factors. So that has been a combination of things that have helped me in navigating my wellness and being able to share that through the work that I do, sharing these experiences with others. Psychiatrists will prescribe things that you need in order to bridge certain portions of your mental health in order to get where you need to be. So you have to have a little bit of trust in that system. And then navigating it beyond the acute phases is really kind of finding your own way to be able to introduce modalities of wellness to others. And there's so many hobbies and interests that you can find passion and purpose in that'll really allow you to draw yourself out of isolation and find yourself kind of transitioning as your tools on your tool belt become more easily accessible. My advice, for what it's worth, giving it to people that have experienced mental health, because I've navigated the system and I've been through it, is just to be aware that when you identify early that you have mental health as an issue, you have to seek professional support in order to truly dissect what is going on and understand it, so that the transition in the continuum of mental health can be successful. Once you receive the professional help, that's when you can really get the insight into the wellness pieces that you need in order to transition into being healthy and well. It is kind of that old saying of you need to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. It's really important that the caregivers, that they find those things to step away, to be able to kind of retreat from the things that find themselves drawn into the cycle or the system of mental health. So it's just as important for those that are supporting those with mental health as it is for those experiencing mental health to find their own balance and their own wellness.